Texas!
He's a 10.
I choose this family.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 3 of 911 Lone Star Roundup. I'm one of your lovely hosts, Grace, along with Katie.
Hi guys.
EJ.
Hey everyone.
And Shaz.
Hello.
Today we'll be talking about episode 1 of Lone Star. Just to clarify, we're not recapping, we will just be talking about what stuck out to us.
So we're just going to get right into it. So I guess the first thing we want to talk about is the intro leading up to the explosions. Of course, we see that craziness, the burrito put in the microwave like an idiot. And
who's that dumb?
Like, I
You'd be
remember
surprised.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
That dumb.
I remember watching that for the first time. Like, idiot. Like, how do you not know you're not supposed to put that in the microwave? Like, that's common sense here. Come on.
Okay, let's be honest though. My family doesn't use microwaves, so I am someone who would make that mistake simply because I never knew.
Yeah.
But for most other people, it's like a staple of life.
Yeah.
So come on. Like, okay, once I put like cardboard in the toaster oven and it burned. Oh god. But to be honest, yeah. But honestly, the stupid point, who puts that flaming plate into a trash can?
Oh my god. Literally.
A full trash can.
Like, were there no fire extinguishers? Like,
I
what?
know, right?
I just, like, put it on the ground, stomp on it, like, seriously. There are other ways to put it out than just put it in the...
But I think it's just like, as an outsider, you could tell, like, oh my god, why are you doing this when you know the proper procedure? But in the moment, when it's going
in the
on,
moment
it's
you
like
panic.
Such a different, you're not thinking clearly when something bad is happening. So I kind of get it at the same time. Like, but come on, dude, seriously, you're for football too, please. At least make a better sport.
Football is the only sport I like.
Oh shit, my bad. I'm stepping on toes.
It's fine. Like, very few people I know actually like it, so that's fine.
Well, and, so you get this, like, after the whole situation, then Grace is getting the call. So we're introduced to Grace pretty quickly, and, like, it's a full-blown fire. So, like, I don't know how much time happened in between there, but, man, I was like, and so we get to, we briefly meet the original 126, and honestly, I had no idea that was going to happen.
Same.
I wasn't expecting. I was like, when that happened, and I saw Judd at the end, like, Grace is asking, like, 126, and I was like, I cannot believe, like, at the time I didn't know that it was her husband she was trying to get a hold of, but just that thought of, like, not knowing, and then, like, he's the only survivor of a whole fire crew that was there. It was just I can't imagine that.
Yeah, I mean, I like it because it makes the show unique, because, like, I've never seen a show where literally the whole team except for one person dies.
And I think for when you watch it the first time and you don't know that, Grace and Judd are married, it's like, you get that she's worried because, like, obviously people are dying in an explosion, but, like, after watching it the second time, it's just like a whole different wave of emotion, just knowing that she's, like, literally here, like, she probably listen to her husband die if if it came out that way. Like, that was such a heartbreaking scene. Like, the more you watch it, like, after the first time, like, after a rewatch, it's just, like, so much more heartbreaking knowing that, like, this, she could have, like, hear him die, like, if it was that case. Like, it's, I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but it's like, you just imagine, like, being in that position where you're listening to your husband probably die, is all I'm saying.
Well, I mean, looking at where she was at, to her, she had just heard her husband die.
Right.
Because she didn't know he was still alive. She was getting no answer. And honestly, okay, let's take a moment to, like, appreciate her, because if it was me, I'd probably be, like, screaming my husband's name in, but she was just doing this broad, like, ladder 126, 126,
oh my god.
Like, she was obviously frantic, but she was still keeping it as a professional.
I still get goosebumps listening to that part.
Yeah. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and then, it just, like, fades to, like, 6 months later, and then we get two completely different people talking, and it's, like, TK and Owen, and we quickly, like, learn that, we've got TK is his son, and they're talking about TK wanting to propose to his significant other. At the time, I thought he was talking about a girl.
I know, same.
I didn't. I mean, I think because of the promo, and stuff. I didn't
Yeah.
think it was Carlos, but also I don't really remember like really paying attention to Carlos in the promo when it came out, because I think it was a quick split second. But once I saw them on screen, obviously I cared a lot, and I was like, oh my god. But yeah, not like in the moment. But I feel like that they kind of did on purpose, because Alex is a very gender neutral name, so they want people.
It really is. It can be Alexandra or Alexis or Alexa or Alexander. Like,
yeah.
Captain Clown.
I mean, and we
Clown.
Yeah,
That's
and
what I call him.
Yes, clown.
Yeah.
He's a clown.
No, and so Owen, we quickly learn, has divorced twice, and he's like talking to TK about like grand gestures, and so I'm curious in the future, like what that's gonna ever come up to be, like if TK gonna ever take that advice, or
I hope he takes it.
But like the one time he took that advice, it backfired.
Yeah.
Like grand gestures. That's what you always say. Well, I've also been divorced twice.
I love that we can like quote the show.
I know.
Same.
Yes. Expect more of that from all of us.
Oh yes.
As we keep going through the episodes.
Yep. And then we get Owen's cancer diagnosis, and I can't really say. I mean, why would I expect that? But like that was, I don't know. Like I remember watching it and be like, oh, he has cancer, but like the way they explained it, obviously it didn't sound that bad. But like Owen's first like thing was, oh, my son's proposing tonight. Will I be able to make it to the wedding? And I'm like, I don't think at that moment. No, we didn't know at that moment that the proposal didn't go through.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, when like we learned that, it hits even harder.
Right.
Like, oh my gosh, because
Yeah, the cancer storyline definitely threw me for a loop. I won't deny there wasn't a moment where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to watch the show. So for those of you who don't know, I took care of my mom while she was going through cancer treatment. She was actually initially diagnosed at stage 1B, which is what Owen was diagnosed at. She has passed on since, it's been a few years since she passed away. But, we quickly learned not only with that, it's just, it was from being a firefighter at Ground Zero in New York on 9/11, September 11th, 2001, which is a day that affects many people. And I know I was sharing a little bit in our last episode that, I can't talk about 9/11 very often without getting emotional, just because it's such an emotionally thing. So like on top of the fact that now this firefighter, which there are many firefighters and first responders that are struggling with health challenges, and cancer is a big one from being at Ground Zero. And so like I immediately, like as soon as I heard the cancer diagnosis, like a part of me was like, I don't want to watch this series because I don't want to have them drag through the cancer thing. And like, I just went through this with my mom. I don't want to do it. But then I was like, no, because then I'm like, I feel for TK, because I remember being TK, being an only child to a mom who's, struggling with cancer. And he's an only son to, an only child to a man who's, got cancer. So I was like, I feel for TK. So there's that moment of like, I can connect with TK on a level that I'm sure not many people can. And, it's just, and then like Ground Zero is a big important thing for me. I have a cousin who her husband's brother is on the 9/11 memorial. So when Owen was at the memorial there at that moment, I'm assuming thinking about his life after getting the diagnosis, as well as just remembering being there. Just a big moment.
Yeah.
And I stuck with it because I wanted to see where they were going to take it, and I'm glad I did, because then we got Tarlos.
We're glad too.
We're
glad too.
Yeah.
Sorry,
we love
I feel
you.
like I just took the emotions down on this, but explaining all that. But
No, in fact, I want to actually hop in. I did extensive research on just firefighters in general when deciding my career choice. And for anyone who doesn't know, I will be going to the fire department. And I know recently I refreshed my memory, but most firefighters don't die on the job. It's a very low death rate, actually. What firefighters are most likely to die of is cancer from the job.
Yeah.
being exposed to different chemicals and different things that can cause cancer.
And like that's something to wrestle with, because like cancer can happen to anybody, but like in a job in which it's like it's an end result for a lot of people. Like, that is definitely... But also, that's just the job in general. So many people... In fact, I imagine a large amount of first responders from 9/11 had cancer because of all the chemicals, all the smoke, everything that happened when the buildings came down and when the Pentagon got crashed into. Like, they were exposed to so much shit.
Yeah.
And eventually their bodies just got overwhelmed by it. And like thinking about it and thinking that that is an experience. If there's any experience that's going to give you PTSD or PTSI as it should be referred to, being on ground zero. But to think that you don't not only have to live with that illness or injury, but then years later you come back with an actual illness to just be a full physical reminder that, hey, let's remember the worst day of your life.
Yeah.
So many people are still giving up so much just because they were there protecting us. And it's close to 20 years since that event happened. And it's just an overwhelming, like, thought. So there was me with my even more depressing... the emotion sound. So let's move on.
Well, we got to go through a little emotion to get to the
Yeah.
good stuff, though, because
So-
we can't always have the positives.
True. So,
Yeah, of course.
TK,
Speaking of which.
TK's proposal is rejected, but of course we just see him talking to Alex at a fancy restaurant.
I'm so glad they didn't show the actual rejection. I couldn't have handled it.
I agree.
We've talked about that a lot, like off podcast, about how we're glad we didn't see that. But instead we saw the overdose, which I can't really say would have been much better. I mean, I can't really imagine. I don't really know if I want to know how the proposal rejection went. Like I don't know how I would have felt about that. But I don't know. The overdose, I definitely feel like 50 different ways about it. There's definitely, I don't know. It's not good, but it's like, I don't know, it gives us perspective, but also I know it's an important thing to play for Ronan, so I guess it's good in that sense, but it's a lot.
I mean, I actually, of course, I'm glad we didn't see the rejection, because, like, I would always skip through something like that. Like, I don't want to watch it. The overdose, I don't mind watching. Like, I'm actually fairly glad they showed it. Like, maybe not him actually popping the pills, which I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I would have wanted that. Even though, like, it is interesting to, like, read various fanfics of, like, his mental state afterwards, but in the show, actually, no. But I think, actually, like, going past the overdose and, like, into that scene, the sheer emotion of it, like, I think Owen was so certain that this time he lost his son. Like, seriously, TK was, like, seriously gray. His heart wasn't beating, he wasn't breathing.
Yeah.
Like, for a moment, you gotta wonder how long, when he'd taken the pills, how long he'd been like this. Because he was able to be brought back.
Right. And
too much
as
time,
quickly
that's not able to happen.
As he was, I know for me, like, when I first saw the previews, because I started watching the series when it first started airing, so when I saw the commercials for the previews, I saw Rob Lowe giving CPR to a guy, but at the time I didn't realize who it was, and I didn't even realize it until after we met TK.
Same.
And I'm like, oh god, that's his son. And I'm like, here's like a father, and I'm like, what? And then I was confused of like why is Rob Lowe wearing an NYFD uniform if he's supposed to be in Austin, because that's 911 Lone Star, and so I had to learn all that. But
and I kind of want to just say, like, can you imagine that at this point Owen just found out about his cancer, so in his mind, like, oh, he's gonna die, and then he's gonna leave his son behind, and then to find his son like practically dead. Could you like imagine like the emotional toll it probably took on him to like
he was,
and like it was such... That's a good point, Shaz. I've thought about that before, and you hear whenever something like this is brought up, like, no parent should outlive their child.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, far too many have to go through that. And to something like this, where we, like, can gather this has happened before. Like, this is not the first time he has come close to losing his son. We even see that when, later on when TK gets shot. This is over and over again. But also in that scene, I don't know, my heart always just kind of breaks a little when, like, TK comes back, and, like, after throwing up and everything. He just looks around. He sees his dad, and he
like
reaches
clings to him for
him.
dear life.
He's
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Dad,
I'm
I
sorry.
cried. Like
He kept saying, "I'm sorry," and I'm
literally,
like, he just came back from being dead, and
I
he's
literally cried.
apologizing.
I'm like, I think I'm crying just thinking about how sad
Yeah.
this shit is.
That was such a
Like-
so heartbreaking to watch. But
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Heartbreaking, but
hurt.
so powerful just to see it. Especially
I
now.
think
to see the connection
And
they
Yeah.
one thing I do
Oh, yeah.
love the Lone Stars, and even the original 911, is how vulnerable and open they make their like male characters
Yes.
be with all these
Yes!
different
Yes!
emotion and going through all of this. It's like, in most shows that these guys just shut down and they just like be hard asses, but they've always been so good with just like having their characters be so open and vulnerable, and I really commend them for that. They do such a good job.
Yeah.
Yep.
And even if you get a character who might put on like that facade, like the original 911, like Eddie, he's one of those people. You see other men encouraging them to be vulnerable. Like Bobby encourages him to be vulnerable. Buck encourages him to be vulnerable. Like that is so important. Like men support the vulnerability of your fellow
and it's just
man.
like they're also open about their love for each other too, and it's like it's nothing that they shy away from, and I really love that.
Yes, that's so important. Get another
Right?
representation thing. Like, yes.
Yeah, so right before the overdose, or we see the overdose, Owens offered basically a job in Austin, rebuilding a firehouse, which is the firehouse of Judd's that the entire crew, except one lone survivor, survived the explosion. And so Owens like, you guys want diverse? I was born in Santa Monica and moved to New York City when I was 15. I'm not diverse.
Yeah.
So like he's like basically turning down the offer, but then he just goes through this whole thing with TK, the overdose, and it's like, okay. And so later on we see Owen and TK talking on the water in New York and about, what's been going on, and we learn a little more about TK's past. And then Owen says, well, pack your bags, we're going. And TK doesn't want to.
Dad, I'm not in the mood for vacation.
Yes. And he's like, we're not going on vacation.
You know what I think what I love about that scene, like there's a lot I love about it, but I think this is the time that we really see the tough love that Owen gives him. I don't think we really see it as much in most other episodes, but this one is important because this is a time you do not ever doubt that Owen loves TK.
Yes.
Which with some tough love representations, it may seem like they've started to hate whoever it is. Seriously, I hate that. But this, like, he loves his kid. He wants to keep his kid alive. So, like, tough love for him is just, guess what, they're doing things his way now. But it's all for the good of his son. Like, we need that.
Yeah. And I think it was important for the first episode. This is the pilot episode. They're trying to build a solid foundation for these characters, and to see the love and the support he wants to give his son, his adult son, which we also don't see a lot in series and even in real life. A lot of times once a guy hits 21 years old, a lot of families, he doesn't stay as connected to his families as some do.
Yeah.
So to see that TK and Owen have been working together, are close, that's a really important thing to see as well.
Yeah. And then we end up in Austin in the first scene in Austin where they pull up to the 126 and it's literally empty. Chills. Yeah.
I think it was, who was it? TK that said it's like a tomb.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was like a tomb. It was seriously.
Yeah. And
like that was an extremely accurate representation.
And then TK says something like we don't
City Slickers.
Yeah, we don't belong here. And Owen's like, we're invited here, and he's like, what, a city slicker is gonna come up in here and tell these people how they're doing life all wrong.
And Owen's like, city
and
slicker.
Owen's like, yeah.
I love the sass between them.
Yes. And
the rapport they have.
Yeah, and TK's like, they're not going on a vacation, but TK rolls up in like this shirt that's
a
like,
Hawaiian shirt.
It looks like he belongs in Hawaii. Like, what are you doing, boy? You're in Austin, Texas.
Like, is that his gay side coming out? Or like,
honestly,
I love TK's wardrobe is like gay shirts or hoodies. There's no in between. I don't know how else to say it. It's like gay shirts or hoodies.
That shirt is
Okay, I have a question for like all of us.
yay.
Does TK button his shirts?
He didn't after he hooked up with Carlos, which I'm getting ahead of myself, but we'll get there next week. But I had to say that. This time I think he might have, but that shirt.
Call the police.
This
Call Carlos.
That shirt friggin' reminds me of Ronan though. Like, come on now.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
I feel like some of the wardrobe choices are just like Ronan having a good time.
Yeah.
Like Ronan's like, I'll bring my own clothes to work.
I
Who
could
needs a
see him
wardrobe
doing
department?
that.
I'll just bring my own wardrobe.
Yeah. But I just had to pop that question because, like, does he button his shirts? Because I don't remember.
And then
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And Owen smashing up walls, changing up the whole place.
Okay, so that clip of TK smashing the wall was like,
that was hot.
that was like
Just
a
saying.
treat. That was a treat.
They gave us
Like,
the finest delicacy.
And like
for the girls and the gays only.
and like Deputy Chief Radford's like, do we have that in the budget? He's like, oh, we'll find it. It's just like this casual, like, oh, don't worry about it. I was just gonna say, I really liked how Owen was definitely like, he was talking. I'm gonna cast a wider net when they're trying to give him all these like local firefighters.
Yeah.
So we get to meet the team like as he's slowly like talking, like him and TK. Like I like the kind of montages of like in different places, and they're talking just between TK and Owen about like who they want to hire, and then they're interviewing like Paul and Marjan and
can we just
Mateo
appreciate TK's line of what was it? But
This chick is crazy.
she seems crazy.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
Bad thing.
I love how we can just do that.
And then Marjan is just like, I'm here for South by Southwest.
Yeah, she's like always on the check out Southwest.
I love her so much. Oh my
Same.
God.
I really want to see. I missed the episode of like wish list. I'm just gonna say it now. I really want to see more of TK being like casual friends with the rest of the 126.
Yeah.
I don't think we said that.
No, we
want
didn't.
That. Yeah. Yeah, you got something. But yes, I want that so much. Because, like, during the interviews, I love his interaction. Just his silent interactions by Owen's side. Also, can we appreciate that he's there by Owen's side, like, helping his dad out?
I love that. Yeah.
Like, love that.
Yeah.
But he's just, like, he's watching the video, and he's like... But I think also, something really touches me about the scene with Paul, when Owen was talking about, like, there may be some kid out there like you and stuff like that, and, like, you just see TK's eyes raised, like... You know, like, his dad, obviously, he's supportive, but, like, who knows who TK may have had in his life like that, where, like...
Are we saying Gwen is a little...
No,
actually,
I'm not, but, like, people from school, other adults, like...
Yeah, actually we do.
Whatever.
I would like to know how... I mean, like... I know, oh my god, I'm going back to my wish list. I want to see flashbacks of TK, like, growing up. Is that weird?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes, we all want that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to see. Oh my god, I know. I'm probably... You know, I just want it to be the TK show.
Honestly.
Yes. No, we want a Carlos show.
Yes.
911
Yeah, that's
Carlos.
it.
We will take another spin-off if it just means having that.
Written by us.
But anyway, I thought that was just the sweetest little of just the nonverbal communication.
And I really love Mateo's interview.
Yeah.
It was just like, I'll tell you what you're not stupid, or some shit like that. It was like, oh my god, that was.
And he's like,
Yeah.
I'm not, and I wanted.
That was
to
the cutest
hug
thing.
him.
I love him
Like,
so
oh my
much.
God.
Yeah, especially like his like dyslexia being mentioned. I think for a lot of people, that's important to be shown that like somebody like him can do a job like this and stuff.
Right.
And I think, like, once again, representation, but also like it is important just to embrace it, put it out there.
Well, yeah, and just because you have like dyslexia or you're colorblind or just have something, it doesn't mean like it's a like invisible illness or thing. It does means like you can still have those jobs.
But that's the one thing that to bring up with the thing with the representation. It's like at the end of the first episode when you see Marjan is like praying. I mean, obviously, like you've seen.
Oh, I love that.
before. But it's like it's the first time for me. I was like, you know, because I grew up being like half Muslim or whatever, half Hindu. So it's like to see like somebody's actually praying on TV is like
in the
yeah.
middle
Yeah.
of like her fire station.
Yeah, it's like you see, obviously you see Muslim characters, but never in a way that it's like, oh, she could be a firefighter, but she could also be like in touch with her
Right.
religion and not like, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's really nice. I really didn't like the hijab coming off. I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself because we're gonna talk about that. I know, but it's like that's like a really uncalled for
Yeah.
storyline. But I really love how they
Yeah.
like have her faith being in the like a big part of her storyline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. Amen. Me too.
Like we can talk about like the hijab when it comes, because I was just about to like go, well, there is a spot, but no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Next
that's
week.
not
Yeah.
the
Next
hijab
episode.
gate is related.
Hijab kid. Oh my gosh.
So then we meet
Michelle.
Michelle.
Oh my gosh, she's yelling like a
Okay.
crazy person.
I don't know.
I love how people
Yeah.
are just lined up on the street going like, what is she doing now?
Again,
I
it's
mean,
like, oh, this.
if that happened on my street, I'd be like, who is this crazy lady?
Are we saying like what?
I'm Indian. I'm nosy. I have to stand there and like listen.
Oh yeah, so am I.
Oh, same.
I'm so
Same.
nosy. I'm like, okay, what's going on? What?
I'm still completely nosy. Like, yeah, no disguise here. I'm just nosy.
Yeah. I don't know how, like, I think in the moment I was like, what the heck is just wrong with this lady? And then we immediately meet Carlos and I'm like, oh, okay.
It's like, oh my god, can we talk about how sassy the I'm not an Uber line is? Oh my god.
freaking love
Just
that.
like
I was
straight up
planning
off
on-
the bat, I love their friendship.
Well, and at first we don't realize that Liv Tyler. I'm like, at first I saw Liv Tyler, and I'm like, she's banging, and I'm like, what? Did they hire her to be just like this crazy, like? Because I thought it was part of like
Yeah.
a call, you know. And then as Carlos arrests her, and then she starts talking about, can you just drop me off at work? And then like the next time we see her, she's showing up, and I'm like, holy moly! It makes so much more sense now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Love that.
Like, I forget when I connected that she was, like, Michelle, the paramedic captain. I don't know when I connected that, but I think I may have vaguely recognized her from, like, the poster. Because, like, I watched it months later.
Yeah.
And I may have recognized her from the poster and just gone, what the hell is she doing?
Yeah.
But then things started making sense.
Yeah, I watched it like the first week it aired, so I feel like I really didn't have an impression on everyone. I didn't really like. I watched some of the promos, but I didn't really dive into each like thing that was released. Compared to now, obviously, I'm looking at everything I can.
Yeah. And like being surrounded by fan accounts, that helps.
Literally.
Yeah, and like so, I mean, and I think the 126's first official call was the guy with the ghost pepper, right?
Oh my god, the
Carolina
Reaper.
the
Yeah.
sass between Owen and Michelle, like right off the bat. Oh god,
Like,
I love
and
it.
him just admitting like, no, I didn't read the manual.
He's just like, screw that.
He's like, I prefer
I
the
mean,
official.
I wouldn't read it either.
Neither would I. To be honest, I don't like to read. I mean, I do like to read, but not manuals. And
Like,
shit.
I would read it because, like, obviously me saying that as someone who's going into the job, like, I would read it just because I'm afraid that, like, I'd screw something severely up, but not exactly because I wanted to. Like,
Well, and props to like Rafael Silva, because it's my understanding that he actually read the
He
Austin
did.
Police Department
He did.
manual before starting.
and he
I'm like,
only
that's awesome
knew.
to just
He
hit
only
that.
knew a week before she.
Damn, Rafa.
So, like,
Yeah.
Rafa, baby.
We know Rafa loves to read, so
Rafael.
Yeah, he's a
True.
well-educated, rounded man.
I know.
Amen.
I love how he speaks of like Maya Angelou and poetry. I just love that shit so much.
Yeah,
Baby's a fan of the classic.
yeah.
As per our conversation, subtle brag.
Subtle. Completely subtle, babe. Subtle. And so the big call.
The baby thrown from the car.
Oh god.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh, that
Like,
call.
the chances of that ever happening in real life, like, and the baby still being alive,
I mean,
Highly unlikely.
pretty slim.
I mean, I kind of
oh my-
believe it though, because like I don't know, like if you'd have, but like how you'd have to think about how bad that'd have to be if it's the baby seat was buckled down too, I could understand how that wouldn't happen, but it wasn't. It was just like put into place.
Yeah.
But still, I'm like, okay.
Which, you know, actually, thinking about this, the baby was probably safer being thrown out
Yeah.
than it might have been in the car.
Yeah.
Because, like, rolling, the baby probably would have hit its head on the window or something.
Yeah.
Like, he was a lucky little guy, really.
Yeah. Sometimes
Well, yeah, and I mean...
Oh, no, I was
go
just going
ahead,
to say, sometimes that happens. 'Cause I had a teacher in high school that got in a car accident, and they said, yeah, if you were in the car, you would have died.
Wow.
Yeah.
So.
Like, sometimes being ejected...
Yeah, I was thinking...
Oh, sorry. Go on, Jay.
No, it's okay.
I was just going to say, sometimes being ejected will be the thing that kills you, but you know what? Sometimes it might be the option you have to get out there alive.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and there was so much banter like there too when you're thinking about it, because like we know, like at first we didn't even know the baby was up in the tree, because like so the mom was like stuck in the car, like, so they're, and then like when Marjan gets in there, she's like, she's pregnant, and so then when she does wake up and there she's saying my baby, there she's like, no, my other baby, because everybody thought she was talking about the one she was pregnant with. And then Paul's like doing his thing. I love that Paul has that like skill.
Do the thing.
He can, like
he's the smartest one out of all of them.
He
really is.
Yes.
I love that he also, because he reads, we see him read a lot, so we like, Paul is the brain man.
Oh, yeah.
Like, him just immediately going over, figuring out, like, what the car hydroplaned off of, and, like, just figuring the momentum. It's like...
I would have been there like, ma'am, I don't see a baby.
I would... Oh my gosh, yeah. I would be looking everywhere, but I don't think I would have thought to look up in the tree.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I know.
Like, because that's... like, insane thinking that would happen, but logistically that makes sense. And whenever I go on a call that could possibly warrant looking up in the tree, I'm going to look up in the tree.
And then fast forward a couple of minutes, and our favorite part of the entire thing happens.
They meet.
Oh my god, the meet cute, like the cutest meet.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It was like insta attraction.
Carlos meets. Yeah. He's an impressive guy.
He's my dad.
I had to take a moment because I couldn't stop laughing. It was like, thank y'all, all y'all. I was so weak that I literally didn't pay attention to the rest of the thing. It was like, her acting was so funny, I couldn't.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm sorry to the Austin people that I just offended.
And then after that, I think is the bars, the dancing.
Yeah, the titty shake scene. If you know, you know.
It's the titty shake.
Well, and I think there was a lot of opportunity there, because it was, I mean, it's pretty much you just had your first official shift as a fire team, like the team.
Yeah.
And so they like get to go to the bar, and you know they're there. DK's
gross
drinking his mineral water.
First of all,
Dad's,
love him.
You know, talking to him, and you know, but on the other hand, like TK thanks his dad for bringing him to Austin, because he thinks that the team's gonna work well together and stuff. So like at first he was kind of reserved about, I don't know if this is a good idea, but he kind of came around to it, and then of course. You know, Carlos comes up to TK after everybody starts dancing.
Titty
I was like, come on, I love that.
I love that.
The titty. I want to see. I need I need a Rafa dancing scene like every episode, like every season, forever. I mean, every episode would be nice, but like I'm not gonna over ask. But it has to be a titty shake per season.
Well, I'll even take like a Tarlos slow dance. Like,
I mean, but also titty shake.
But also, can we go? Unfortunately, before the Tarlos scene, can we go back to where Owen and TK are talking? And it's just like, I just love you.
I know,
and like TK puts his head on his dad's.
That's the cutest. You see, that goes back. That goes back to my point of like them not being shy to show emotions. You know,
like. They're like father, son. We're going to show that we love each other. Like,
I'm gonna go rewatch it right now.
So much
right now.
This instant.
Yes.
Ignores everything else on my to watch list. To rewatch Lone Star for the bajillionth time.
Yeah,
and that's when Grace gets to meet Owen.
Grace is not to be talked to.
That was.
Oh my gosh. No, I'm not.
You know. Yeah. Well, she was probably pissed because Judd wanted to leave when he saw everybody was there, and he was mad.
He's like, dude, this is my one night of dancing. You are not gonna die your wife for not dancing. Not exactly the paraphrase. Now she's like, now
I like how
pretty close.
whipped Judd is for this woman. He's just like, sure, my wife needs to dance. Screw my issues.
She has the ball. She has the ball.
Screw my issues. My wife wants to dance. She gets to dance.
Yeah. Let's say he won't grumble about it, but he loves her.
Yeah, I love that.
Oh, they're Swedish.
And there's a lot of great lines in this episode, but I think my favorite one is what Grace says. What I'm asking is that you do what you do best.
I'm asking you to save him.
I'm asking you to save him. She's asking
I'm literally
Owen
getting
to save
goosebumps.
Judd. And I'm like, that is like, that rounds up right there, like the whole like saving, because like Owen had to save TK, and like he didn't just save him by like bringing him back to life. Like, he had to save him by getting him out of
That's
New
a
York.
perspective I didn't even think about.
He's a saver.
And I think you also see that in some ways that he kind of, I know it's a far away from what we're going to talk about with Mateo and the scene where he's like shining the hat. And I feel like at some point he does do a little bit of saving for all of them, because remember he was going into his own head, like he's not doing well. So you know what I'm trying to say? Like in some ways, shape, or form, he helps save them.
Yeah, and you know, even Marjan, like he asked her point blank, he's like, "Please tell me, like, you can guarantee that they're not using you as a prop in Miami." So I feel like that really sums up that whole episode, and honestly, part of the series, like as we learn, I think it was a really good like time moment for the show.
Yeah, in some way, shape, or form, he has been saving a little piece of all of them.
And I love Owen saying, instead of saying PTSD, he says PTSI. I love that because no other show has ever mentioned that before, so I didn't even know it was an actual thing. And if you look it up more, it actually is more of a confirmed diagnosis now. They're kind of trying to get away from saying PTSD.
You know, I think it's important to have that, because disorder implies something's wrong with the person. And that enforces the stigma of mental health, and like it's a whole mess.
Yeah.
It is an injury. You're not just born with it. Like, something happened, and it's an injury, and it's a scar that never quite heals. I even touched on that in the last episode, but it's like, this is very important.
Yes.
And it's not something that, like, PTSD is a disorder. They say that, you know, you would think it's something you can get over. Well, it's an injury. It's a chronic injury. It's not just, like, it's an ongoing, that's what I'm looking for. It's an ongoing thing. It's not ever going to get better. I mean, you can learn how to, like, take care of yourself when you start having flare-ups, but man, PTSD is not anything to joke with.
Yeah.
Or PTSI. And it's not always easy. It's a hard road. Yeah. And that's when you have to surround yourself with people that can really, truly be there for you and be your family. And I'm sure in that moment, like, because Judd was like, through the whole episode, Judd was probably being really negative, and I can understand it. You know, here's this, like TK quoted, a city slicker coming in, and, you know, Owen specifically said in the beginning to TK, they're looking for somebody to blame if it doesn't go well. Well, of course, they didn't want to blame somebody local, so they'll bring in a strange person, and, you know, but when the whole conversation started, because Judd went out in the engine bay and saw the memorial that they had put up the first day they got there for the crew. And Judd had been saying, you know, you guys are throwing him away, you're making him trash, because he hadn't seen that yet. So then for that moment to just like him break and like show his emotion finally to, well, he'd been showing his emotion through anger, but to show more emotion to Owen, I think, was the key to kind of getting his job back.
And see,
I think,
and then
well, I was coming in like, it's not just that like he had resentment towards Owen, which yes, of course he did. He was also trying to pretend nothing was wrong. Like he was trying to beat back his demons, beat back the monster, Cajun, and we already know he's stubborn, and especially like he's very much the man, so he probably has been taught that, again, like emotion, vulnerability, like it's gonna hurt you. It's not a good thing.
Yeah.
And so, like, you can kind of see his journey to opening up. It's still not always easy at times.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm about to say. Like, he needed to let go of the anger, not just to get like his job back, to get like himself back. Because from what we see from the rest of this season, Judd is not like that person that's like, he's not a bad guy. He's just like going through a lot. And I think he just needed to let his emotions be free. And with anger, he was just creating more issues for himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was just bottling it up. And so he finally had that moment of clarity, and you're right. Like, even Grace alluded to it. She wanted Owen to save him, and so by saving him was, putting him back in his job so he can kind of have a piece of himself back, some normalcy to help him get back and get him back. What she said, the air he needed
like
to
he was
breathe.
suffocating, and I think that's true for a lot of first responders, and they get put in that situation.
Yeah.
And it's not just a job, it's who you are. Not everybody can do it.
Agree.
And like there are a lot of things, and being a first responder brings a lot of other hardships, like relationships are harder, and because it also takes a special sort of person to be in a relationship with a first responder.
Yeah.
And just everything else, just handling life without kind of feeling that, I don't think you ever really feel like you're off shift. Because if something's wrong, if there's a first responder there, police officer, firefighter, even military, they're going to help.
We kind of see that in the like episode 10 anyways, like with Carlos and TK.
Exactly. They were out of uniform. That didn't mean they stopped being their job.
Yeah.
So that is my passionate rant about firefighters.
So for any first responders out there, and even healthcare
we love you,
workers,
we support you
so much.
Thank you for what you're doing during all of this.
Yeah, seriously. And then we meet the original 126 member, Chuck Parkland's wife, Colleen, and his daughter, Mabel. And I can't help but not laugh because of
lard.
the cookies.
The lard, yeah.
Like,
it's daddy's lard.
Cookies,
like,
Owen's pause. Like his, what did you just say?
After he eats it,
Especially daddy's lard. Can we just...
And then he's like, I'm keto, and Judd is like, no, he's not. Like, Judd's been friends with the man for like, I mean, Judd got his job back like 2 seconds, and he's already bossing the man around.
Oh, we love it. Oh my gosh, yeah.
But I love what Colleen said, though, because she's like, she saw, they'd seen him on the news, and then, she was like giving him a support for what they had done with the 126.
So
like,
depressing.
it was depressing, and for the wife of a former firefighter there to come and say that took a lot of courage for her.
I honestly hope we see more of her
too.
Yeah,
that's why she came in a second time.
And I think I want to see. I know it probably won't happen, but I would like to see more of her discussing like the former 126. Even if it's just like empathing to like Grace or Judd. I feel like with the new 126, it's just like we know all of them, but I kind of want to get to know a piece of like the old people. I mean, they obviously held like great value to Judd because he's been with them for so many years. So I want to know like what is like some relation. I want to get a feel of like who these people were, because we see how well he works with the current 126, but we don't know what it was like with the former ones. I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, like he lost his family to that.
Yeah.
And we see like on the Forever in Our Hearts or whatever it is board, like we see people of all ages. We see young looking ones. We see ones that look like they've been there a good few years. Like there was everybody there, and all of them died. And just the impact of that, like if you just sit and let it like come over you, just thinking like, even though this is fiction, like just thinking about like the impact of that, it's like, wow. And it's just something else. And I definitely agree that I want to learn a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like, learn a little bit more than just the faces and a name here and there.
Yeah, even if it's just in passing. Like, I want to know a little bit, but, like, I mean, we all, from, like, how she said, like, oh, Parkland Lard was passed down to the family. You kind of get, like, this guy is, like, a family guy. So I want to know what's, like, these other people a little bit. Like, a little snippet,
Yeah.
Just in passing, even.
Well, And I think it would be cool, like, especially on maybe the anniversary of what happened, like the anniversary of that, or the anniversary of the rebuild, or something. They honor the former 126. I know they, they have the sign and picture frames up on the wall and everything. But I think that would be really meaningful, probably to the city, because I mean, I've never in my city ever gone through anything where we've lost firefighters. But okay, take that back. There may have been, but I know here in the area we had a very brutal killing of 4 police officers in a small coffee shop, and it really affected the entire community. And it when they came together, so I can only imagine. Here's this town going through the loss of basically an entire firehouse. That's a big thing, and it's going to affect, and there's going to be ripple effects across the community and other fire departments in the area, because they're going to be like, oh, I knew that guy, or oh, I knew somebody from 126.
I don't think Maryland's had something like that, or if it has, I don't remember. But I was just remembering Charleston, South Carolina, years back, they had I think it was furniture department or furniture store fire, and they lost 9 firefighters.
Oh my god.
And unfortunately, due to various problems this year, the memorial for them was vandalized. And I cried when I read about it. Because, like, these families already lost their 9 heroes, basically. And I read all the reports. It was not the greatest thing in the world. Like, it wasn't pretty at all. But then just having this, like, these are firefighters. They died. Like, respect, please. Yeah. But just stuff like that. It kind of reminds us, like, mortality, Yeah.
Yeah, and I love how the end of the episode kind of comes together. Like, we see, we get a little montage of, like, all of them kind of doing their own thing. But then all of a sudden, that alarm goes off, and everybody's getting in the fire trucks. And
I love that
Judd's
scene.
Getting back on the fire truck. And then they go down Austin streets with the fire trucks and
I love that song.
That song was perfect for that show.
It really was.
Like, that's the theme song. Like, yes.
Yeah, it fits so well for that moment. And when this aired, it aired on a Monday night, and then I think Tuesday night the second episode aired.
Yeah.
So we had 2 in a week, which was really awesome.
Wow.
So we didn't have to wait too long after that, but then it was weekly after that. So I just, like, we kind of got, like, a 2-hour season, like, series premiere.
I just binged it all together.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because we have that
I do that now.
Yeah. I can't imagine having to wait. Oh, my God. I would have, like, lost it.
Yeah. And you know what? We're going to have to wait.
Yeah.
I know. I can't. Like, right now, I'm trying to catch up to Station 19, and the wait is, like, constantly killing me.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, I'm watching various shows right now. Criminal Minds, for example, it has 14 seasons. I think they finished the entire show. And I'm glad I didn't have to wait for that, because some of those cliffhangers, guys. But, like, other shows, it's like cliffhangers, because they have to have their audience coming back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cliffhangers are a tough one.
So overall, the first episode was, like, really well done. Like, I was hooked.
It was perfect.
After the first one. It was, I mean, I wasn't sold on all the characters. Michelle.
Same.
Yeah.
But overall, it was a fantastic first episode. Like, it's hard for me to, like, get into shows right after the first episode, but I was, like, hooked, like, from the moment I saw TK anyway. So I was like,
same.
The moment I saw Tarlos, I mean,
I kind of knew it was going to happen because, like, my friend bombarded me with fan fictions and stuff. So I was expecting it, but I was not expecting them to be that point. Oh my gosh. Like,
I mean, guys, have a little bit perspective on what I went into. For some reason, I went in expecting the son to be, like, 10 years old. So, not only is he a full-grown man, a gorgeous one at that, but he's also gay. And, well, whatever they were during the first season is hot.
He said his boyfriend, so I'm gonna...
Well, I mean, during the most...
He did, with the conversation with Zoe.
Oh, yeah. The boyfriend. I'm really mature. He's my boyfriend.
Oh, he is.
He very much is, sir. Like,
it's denied.
He put you a red snapper. He is your man. Y'all are practically married in my eyes.
Yes.
Yes, this
Yes.
was fun. I'm glad we did this.
Thank you guys so much for joining us and listening. Be sure to follow the podcast on Anchor. We are also on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Beaker, and well, we'll update you as more come. You can follow the podcast on our socials at 911LS Roundup on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
You can follow me on Instagram at For the Love of Tarlos and on Twitter at For Love of Tarlos.
You can find me as EJ8302 on Facebook,
You can find
Instagram,
me
and
as
Twitter.
Ronan Rathlin 911 on Instagram and Sheepgirl3 or Sheepgirl31 on Twitter.
It's your girl Buttercup Strand on all social. That was weird. I'm sorry. That was so weird. But yeah,
It works.
Your girl.
Yeah, girl.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bye.
Thanks everybody
Bye.
for listening.
Bye.